Good evening. I'm really cutting this one close tonight. So Drew Sengai from Binghamton University and Christopher Kozak, thanks for being here, and we'll start the debate. First, the affirmatives concede this debate by failing to present a value criterion or even a way to access minus given no reason, but argues more important value. Connecting this is the Kochi evidence response who says that animals can't do what humans can, but orangutans and chimpanzees have been proven to be able to do the same mental process that humans can. Criterion ecocentrism. You can see that we've been looking at all animals helps us reconcile with the non-humans. He's given no reason, but we shouldn't realize that we are relevant and should help nature. This goes and solves for all of his impacts. I'll go on that below. Contingent 1, he says that we don't have to say whether we're equal, but that was the Kochi 9 evidence that will be below. He says that I have to prove we're not equal, but he said at least 10 times in the speech that they are unequal. He concedes by Rogers evidence from the 1. He says there's no logical reason to treat animals indifferently because the intelligence claim in the negative would allow for testing of mentally disabled. There's no reason why animals are less than accept us. We push our will on them. This means that he fails the limits test presenting the criteria in the 1. He says that animal testing is for the good of humanity, so that it looks ethical. As long as we're trying to say if testing on the Jews would have helped the Nazis, it would have been okay. He also says that because everyone disagrees animal testing should occur doesn't make it bad, which sound a lot like slavery, imperialism, discrimination, etc. He also says that animal testing would follow guidelines, but says they're already in place from an organization for economic cooperation and development. Evidence proves that the current tests bleed and torture animals to death. This means the school will never solve. Contingent 2 says the apple is not prerequisite to the rest of the topic, but if animals are more deserving of value than humans, but the entire topic is if animals are deserving more than humans. If animal testing is okay, then it means that animals have more inherent value and their lives are not unlike ours and should be respected. If not, then we should be able to test them at our pleasure. The negative says that ethical guidelines are needed, proving that they have inherent value, and any testing would take the advantage of that value. That's my Kochi evidence. The negative talks about the survival of the fittest, which is the same justification as the stronger rapist. If I can do something that helps me regardless of how it affects others, then it should be okay. He says util doesn't lead to dominance, but that's ridiculous. Util is how wars, discrimination, and oppression happen instead. In my Kochi evidence is coming from the human-non-human divide. Because we've excluded animals from our spheres, and we call animals, we call others animals in the same way and justify their exclusion. That's Cats 99. In the world where they're in the harmony with nature, we don't have to fear the impacts because we accept them as part of life and not something to be controlled. The policy is not the question. The problem the negative brings up is not justifications. That's Cats in Australia. That's Cats in Australia. I prove animals in any way. If I help animals in any way, that's a decision role. You go and you vote for me instantly. His case. He says the animal testing tries to save life, but it's unethical. It doesn't matter if you won't try it on humans. It's not ethical to try on animals. The legal system by Barnett evidence shows that animals have no illegal rights and are excluded by language, which is a slippery slope to other forms of oppression. He said it's okay if suffering is minimized, but there's reason it says it's okay to do this on humans if they don't suffer. That's ethically bankrupt. Even if the best pain medication still doesn't make it right. He says that terminal illness means no pain, but that makes no sense. They suffer greatly before they die. He says it's necessary, but it's not for some scientific advancement testing of diseases. 70 million animals are killed every year. Outweigh anything that could happen with the test. Without the test, he says it's invaluable groundwork, but fails to say what this is. He says they eliminate unnecessary suffering, but it fails to say that it's unnecessary for society, that vagueness kills the effectiveness. He says health issues for autism, but I'm autistic and still agree it's not worth it. Killing the life is not necessarily the increased mind, it's not worth the cost. He says torture is bad, but we can reform it. It's ethically terrible, not justification to continue it. There's a reason enough for you to vote out. He says animal life is less than human life, will be the same in different situation. We are equal to them and die without them alienating ourselves, but the nature only deserves our demise. I don't have to find an alternative to prove the resolution is good. This LD, I don't need a plan. He says economics in the app world, and the economy is an issue to save money from the animals, replenish the ecosystem. He fails to stay a single place would be drastically harmed by stopping animal testing, abandon the Britain in March, and their economy has reduced dramatically. Prefer my evidence from scholars in the United States from animal-based testing blogs that keep their jobs. If I read my qualifications to show there's truly going on a rejected idea of property rights for animals being crucial to the entire ecosystem. Last, he says all the tests are ethical guidelines, but by definition show that current testing from horrible chemicals to slowly poison them to death. The negative has to specify which chemical would not be used in the squall, where he's conceded ethics in this debate. Thank you.